Hello there. 4 weeks ago it was Mother's Day, and in Bolton, the town where I live, that morning a young 7-year-old girl called Emily Jones set off with her scooter and her family to enjoy the day at a place called Queen's Park, a park I know well. But poor Emily Jones never came home with her family that day because while she was playing in the park, she was set upon by a 30-year-old woman who proceeded to knife the child in the neck, basically stabbing her to death. Now, 4 weeks down the line, and we are still none the wiser to the identity of the perpetrator or as to her motives. Because that day, within minutes of the attack, the police arrived on site. Emily was taken away in an air ambulance to a hospital, and the police, rather than taking statements from the dozens of witnesses or offering counselling to the poor women and children who had the misfortune to witness this horrific attack. Rather than doing this, the police's main objective was to clear the area of people straight away. Now, within hours, the police were issuing a statement that the attack was carried out by a 30-year-old stranger to Emily's family, and that it was a woman who had previous mental health issues. In this statement, they also said that they would be willing to pursue criminal charges if appropriate. Since when did the butchering and murder of a 7-year-old child ever not need to be followed by criminal charges? You see, my problem with this whole episode is this. Right from the beginning, it sounds much more like a cover-up than it does a murder investigation. And this was borne out the next day in the mainstream media. The next day I trawled through every mainstream media outlet in this country, every one of the main newspapers and the main news channels. And nowhere in any of the reports was I offered the information about the perpetrator. Nowhere could I find out this lady's name, her race, her religion, her immigration status, even though by now locally it was known and acknowledged that this was a 30-year-old Somalian immigrant woman. But as is the way in the UK today, if you want to find out the truth about anything, you have to bypass the mainstream media, bypass our government and our authorities, and go online and find it for yourself. But even then, I was finding myself blocked from finding out any further information about this perpetrator. Any sites who were reporting on this attack, if in their headlines they used the word Somalian or immigrant, I was mysteriously unable to read their reports. So I read the reports for the mainstream media that I could do, and I went to the comment sections. And these comment sections obviously were filled with thousands and thousands of well-being British people wishing the family well and expressing their remorse and their sorrow and their pure shock at this senseless, horrific murder. But among the comments, there were certain local people who were offering up the information that this was indeed a Somalian immigrant. These people were being shot down by leftist, indoctrinated fools. I was looking at comments such as, "How dare you use the death of a young girl to spread hate?" Hate was not being spread. Facts were being given out. Facts that the mainstream media and the police were refusing to give out. I also saw comments like, "What's her race or her religion or her immigration status got to do with anything?" Do you know what? In a case like this, it's got everything to do with everything. Because although the family of this poor child may well behind closed doors be getting all this information from the police, the rest of us certainly aren't. The rest of us as parents need to know this information. We need to know what kind of people and what kind of ideologies they have and what kind of harm they may be willing to do to our children. We need to know that these people are living among us. Just the same as we need to know where all the paedophiles are located so that we can keep our children safe from them too. Now, 4 weeks down the line, there is still no indication as to the motive to this crime. So because of this, it's going to create speculation. So let me speculate now. Okay, was this a religiously motivated crime? Did this Muslim woman wake up that day only to be commanded by Allah to take the life of an infidel? Was it a racially motivated attack? Because I know this park well, and I've been there on a couple of dozen occasions myself, where I've been with my own non-white children. And I can tell you now, without fear or favour, that that park on a normal sunny day is densely populated with non-white families and non-white children, probably to the tune of something like 60 to 65%. So why did this woman choose to attack a young white English girl? Was it racially motivated? Also, this woman must have been carrying a knife or some other such weapon. But again, 4 weeks down the line, nobody knows what this murder weapon was because the information's been withheld from us. But if this woman was carrying a knife or a weapon, why was she carrying it? Does this mean that it was a premeditated attack? And also, the woman is obviously an immigrant. So is she an illegal immigrant or a legal immigrant? Again, I don't know the answer to this because we are not being told. But if she was an illegal immigrant, then who is accountable? Who is responsible for that woman to be sat on a park bench in Britain that morning? Also, the police couldn't wait to get out the magic words. Whenever a non-white person commits murder or commits acts of violence, the police cannot wait to get out their magical words, mental health. Well, if the authorities knew she had mental health issues, what the hell was she doing sat on a bench around vulnerable young children? Was she accompanied? Again, another fact we've not been told. Was she alone? Was somebody with her? Were the people or person with her, if there were any, were they taken away for questioning too? You see, the thing is, if it was known that this woman had mental health issues, then it was known she was a risk. Okay? But our mainstream media and our government and our authorities and the police are an absolute disgrace for withholding these information from us. Simply, in my eyes, for the good cause of diversity. And I say this because if you put it this way, say it was me that was sat on that park bench, right? A white man who waited for a young Asian or black child to come past and then jumped off the bench and stabbed that child to death. Do you think within 2 hours you would be hearing about a stranger to this child's family, a 49-year-old man, stranger to the child's family who's got previous mental health issues, carried out the attack? No, within a couple of hours you would know my age, you'd know my name, you'd know my location, and without question you would already be hearing about the possibility that this was a racial attack. The media, the government, the police, you're an absolute disgrace in the UK today. Take last year when the Syrian boy was waterboarded in Yorkshire somewhere for a few seconds by a classmate in retaliation for something else. That story maintained its place in the mainstream media for 4, 5, 6 days after that. Not only that, the leftist, indoctrinated fools in this country held a whip round and donated over £100,000 to that Syrian boy's family for his hurt feelings. Not only that, the poor young white lad, has been persecuted. His family literally hounded out of their own town because of that one incident. You on the left, are you going to cause as much uproar about the actual death, the murdering, the butchering of a 7-year-old white girl as you did about a waterboarding of a Syrian boy for a few seconds that's left no physical damage whatsoever? You're a disgrace, just like the police and the government are. Anyway, leave the politics to one side. And what I want to say to the parents is our hearts, our completely heartfelt sympathies go out to you. None of us can comprehend the anguish and the despair and the abject sorrow that you are feeling now at the loss of your beautiful little daughter, and the confusion you must feel as to how this could have happened to you. None of us can do. But you've got to be strong for yourselves. You've got to be strong for Emily. And you need to get the answers. Not that me or anybody else requires, but you need to ask the questions that you wish to ask and make sure you get the answers that you need, so that hopefully in the future you can move on and lead some kind of semblance of a normal, happy life in memory of young Emily. And to Emily, I say this: I didn't know Emily. I didn't know you, sweetheart. I didn't know your family. I didn't know anybody who did. But I know the park where you were murdered in, and I know where your school is. And by all accounts, you're the epitome of the perfect 7-year-old girl, a sweet, beautiful, funny, intelligent young girl who is well on her way to becoming a beautiful and intelligent young woman. And it's an absolute stain on humanity that you were cut down at such a young age and prevented from carrying out what would have been your destiny, and that is to grow up in this world, which is everybody's basic human right, to be allowed to be born into this world and grow up in this world and contribute to humanity and to have your own special place in the history of mankind. But you have had your place in history, and you've touched so many lives, undoubtedly, by all the reports. And your family, who loved you dearly in life, are going to love you just as much. Now that hopefully, you're replicating your role as a little angel on earth, up in heaven with all the other angels who've mercilessly and senselessly been sent there too early by inhumane, horrific, disgusting adults. My heart goes out to you, Emily, and all I can say is rest in peace, beautiful, and God bless. To the rest of you, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and speak soon. Bye for now.